Building AI agents, as well as startup ideas, just got a whole lot easier because of the announcement recently from Zapier. Normally, AI agents can be a little bit unreliable when it comes to execution. What Zapier has done is build a deterministic execution layer. In simple terms, it means consistent actions when an AI agent decides to use an app or perform a task. Here's what you'll be able to do. Through a single connection, whether that's MCP or through the SDK, you'll be able to access over 8,000 applications. This will let your AI agent use those tools or apps, connect them together, and create more complex queries that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And this normally isn't that easy, so it's why I want to talk about it. If you don't know, I've been following along with Zapier for a while now, using them for automations. Now, normally you work inside of their ecosystem. You build a Zap to a connection like Gmail, and then as soon as something like urgent comes up, you might automate an SMS to your phone. Now, what I've started doing is integrating Zapier straight into my agents and my startup ideas because they've released 2 new tools. The first is their MCP server. This allows any AI agent to start utilizing all the app connections you might have inside of Zapier. This makes it a lot more secure because of the fact that you can give an AI agent access to only what you want it to do, whether that's just read emails and write drafts, but not access to everything like delete content. Secondly is their SDK. This allows you to start integrating Zapier and its tools and connections straight into your own application. It essentially works as an execution layer. This means that rather than having to set up manual API access to each application you might use, like Notion or Discord or Gmail, you can just set them up once in Zapier and then utilize them anywhere through their SDK. In this video, I want to explore both of these things, show you how to set them up, and start using them for your next startup or AI agent. Let's begin. So this is a Zapier MCP. Unlike other MCP servers, which only connect up that specific app to a chat or an AI agent, MCP through Zapier works through all your apps, which means you can connect Slack, Trello, Notion, and Gmail, and thousands of others through a single connection. Secondly, since Zapier is working as a man in the middle, you have more security over this execution layer. You can give it access to only find emails and not to delete emails. This makes it a lot more secure, and you don't have to worry about OpenClaw just going ahead and deleting everything. Here's how to set up Zapier MCP. Head to the MCP address, which I've also linked in the description below. Click the button Create New MCP Server. You can connect it to Claude, Claude Code, ChatGPT, Cursor, or even something like OpenClaw or directly to OpenAI's API. In this case, I'm going to set it up with VS Code. Then select the tools that you want it to give access to. For this, I'm going to give it access to view my emails and create draft emails. I don't want it to send emails or delete anything in this case, or even archive. Next, I'm also going to give it access to find events in my calendar. I'm using Gmail, so I'll give it access to my Gmail calendar here. With these 2 tools available, I now just need to set this up through VS Code. I'll head over here to Clients, and there's a quick extension which I can utilize or do it manually. I'm going to use the extension method, so I'll select this button here, and now I'll just need to go through an authentication to confirm that my VS Code instance can use my Zapier instance login. Here I'll select to authorize, this will take me back into VS Code, and that's it. Now I can chat along just like I would normally with the AI agent in VS Code and access my MCP server and tools whenever I need. For example, here I've asked it to retrieve my latest 5 emails through Zapier, and here they are. If you want to know what tools your AI agent has access to, you can click this tools button on the bottom right here, and it has drop-downs of all the tool calls it can make, including the MCP ones we've added here through Zapier. Now let's take a look at the Zapier SDK. It's built on top of TypeScript and allows you to access all your app integrations in a type-safe way through built-in actions. Sounds complicated, but it really isn't. Let's set it up right now. You can set up the SDK for Cursor or VS Code or any code editor. There's a really cool little prompt here that tells an AI agent how to set it up for you so you don't have to go through all the manual labor of doing it yourself. Welcome to this brave new world. I'm always going to recommend reading through any prompts you're going to inject into a code editor or your terminal. In this case, I've checked this one and I'm pasting it here inside of Cursor on the sidebar to set the Zapier SDK up for me inside of this test project. The Zapier SDK is a package that's being installed through Node.js, And when it gets installed, you'll see it as a dependency here inside of your packages.json file. You will need to log in and authenticate in order for the SDK to be able to connect up to your account. Here you can see it's testing out that connection, and it's now established that to things like my Gmail, my calendar, and other apps I've connected through Zapier. Here's the cool part that the SDK offers. Now, when I ask it to pull out my latest 5 emails, it can create a file with an API call that does this through the SDK. It's using the connections I've already established in Zapier and providing pseudo access to them almost like an API layer directly inside of the apps I'm building. In this example here, I'm just console logging out my latest 5 emails. Very similar to how I did with the MCP example, but this time through a script that I can run inside of Node.js. Here's one more example. I'm going to get it to pull out my recent calendar events for my upcoming week. It's gone ahead and created this reusable script that any AI agent could use, or even I can just run manually to pull out my calendar events. This was just a simple example with a single connection. Let's take a look at a slightly more complex example, like moving your meeting on Thursday to 2 p.m. and letting all the attendees know. Since the SDK has access to your Google Contacts, your Google Calendar, and even Slack, it can create a number of steps to properly connect all of them together to create this request in a way that normal agents just wouldn't be able to, allowing the agent to find your calendar entry, the attendees here, and then create a message on Slack to each one of them and send it to them as a DM. This is just the beginning of connecting up multiple apps to multiple agents and the kind of things that we'll be able to ask them to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot. A big thanks to Zapier for sponsoring it and making it happen. If you want to learn more about their SDK or their MCP tools, then check the link in the description below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.